Hello, everyone, and welcome to 3 o'clock with SOC. We are so happy that you're here with us. Happy Friday. Give me just a second so I can make sure to welcome our Spanish-speaking neighbors onto the forum. Buenas tardes, muchísimas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros en 3 en punto con SOC. Como siempre, ustedes pueden tener acceso al programa en español a través de una llamada de conferencia. Y el número para entrar es 646-749-3122 y el código para entrar es 779-328-221. And also remember that you can always access our live forums, not live, after they are aired on our Facebook page and our YouTube page. So again, happy Friday. Thank you for being with us. I'm Gabe Charles. I am the Civic Engagement Manager here at Southside Organizing Center. Please keep in mind that our platforms are all available for you, whether it is phone, email, or website. So that is, our phone number is 414-672-8090. Our email is soc@socmilwaukee.org. And our website is www.socmilwaukee.org, where we have tons of information about different resources for coronavirus, for voting, for the census, all types of stuff. So please go to our website to access that information. And of course, as usual, on our Facebook and other platforms as well. We've got a great program for you all today. We're going to be talking with some really cool folks and are really looking forward to the conversations. Please fill out our SOC survey. As always, we want to get feedback from everybody and know how to better serve you all through this forum. So please fill out that SOC survey. And know that we are all here working virtually from home. So that's why I'm not wearing a mask. If I were working from the office, I would absolutely have a mask on because we want to make sure everyone is staying safe during this time. So I can see we have some people watching, but we can only see the number of people watching. We can't see who is actually on our forum. So why don't you take some time to write something in the comment section, whether it's a little heart, a smiley face, just to say hi. We just love to see who's with us. And get a sense of, the people that are tuning in. So please take just a second to say hi in the comments. Don't be shy. We won't call you out if you don't want to be called out, but we just want to see who's all here with us today. Also, just a quick disclaimer, as we do have to have this disclaimer, that the views and opinions shared today do not necessarily reflect those of SOC. Unfortunately, we are a specific kind of organization that only allows us to talk about specific things sometimes, but we always like to create a platform for everyone to be sharing their opinions and their voice in the community. So just keep that in mind. And with that, I will be bringing on our executive director, who will be talking with our very special guest today.
Happy Friday. Thank you, Gabe. Folks, we're so glad you're with us. It's Friday, August 14th, if you can believe it, and we're still all in this together, getting through the pandemic as strong and as safe as we can. Speaking of that, it's going to be our 100th episode celebration soon. On Tuesday, August 25th, we will air our 100th episode. And we would love to celebrate that in a big way. So we're going to share a link here for you all to register for our Zoom party. And if I see, I want to make sure that gets on the screen for you all. And the first 100 people who register, who are within our district, the district we serve, will get a commemorative 100th episode face mask. So if you live between First Street and Miller Parkway, the Valley, and Oklahoma, and if you're one of the first 100 people to register for the event, You're going to get a face mask with our logo and the 100th episode mailed to your home, so contactless. And I'm sure you can use another mask, and we want to reward our faithful participants. And so Andrea Rodriguez is our lead on the project. And if you have any questions, you can contact her, and her contact information is on the link to register for the event. So please do participate. What we plan to do is have a Zoom party with us, our staff, hopefully our board, or some members of our board, people who've come through as featured guests, some of our super fans. So we'd love to see you, Elsa, Diana, Lillian, Trine, Marianne, all you folks who've been with us. We'd love to see you participate with us in a Zoom, which will be a little different. And then we're going to broadcast that party live. So please, you don't want to miss that. And as the plans get more detailed, we'll be sharing the rest of that. So again, please register by clicking on the link, giving us your information, and then we'd love you to celebrate with us. It's super important, right? This was a hard time, and making sure that you had the support and the information you needed to navigate the pandemic, and these days, especially because of the risk of health and death, but also because of the census and also because of the critical elections that were taking place. We wanted to make sure that we were in it with you and for you. All right, this week, we're ending the week. I'm really excited and proud of the work that was taking place because we did a lot of get out the vote work. Thanks to Gabe and her civic team for ensuring that you all, we tried to call as many of you as possible to make sure you had information. And then she came on 4 times that day to give you updates on where to vote and how to vote and answer questions and make sure your rights were protected. So we did the get out the vote. And then we've been talking to several of the new generation of organizers to share their powerful work and just to talk about the intergenerational dynamics, what we could learn from each other as different generations of organizers. And so we're finishing off the week really strong with the guest that I'm going to bring on in a second. Now, next week starts our upgraded forum format. And so every day of the week, we're going to highlight an aspect of the critical work that we're doing so that you can get a little deeper information and engagement in that area. So to remind you, on Monday, we'll be talking to Gabe and her team from the civic engagement team. On Tuesday, we'll be talking to Taylor and the youth on their work. On Wednesday, which is our all Spanish day, I'm going to be available, and we're gonna flip the tables. And this was a suggestion from one of our staff, Drea, and I'm popping it on her now, which is you guys can ask me questions, and I'll be the guest, and we'll have one of the staff moderate. Maybe you, Andrea, since it was your, you can host that segment since it was your idea. And I'll take questions, whatever you want to know, that I'm almost willing to answer anything. It depends how personal you get. And then Thursday, we'll have Marlene on, and she'll be talking about COVID-19. And then Friday, we'll have our team of organizers, the leadership, and community development. And that's how the forum will be rolling out in the next several weeks. Gabe says, when Marisol can go on? I say we put Marisol on Wednesday with me, if she's willing. And we have some other infrastructure staff too. If we want to do that, we can do that on Wednesday. We have Juvia from our HR department, Edith from our grants and compliance. So yeah, we could do the executive and infrastructure team on Wednesday. All right, good idea, Gabe. Marisol, you can blame Gabe. Sometimes, it's not, everybody's not, their happy point ain't being in public, right? And so some of our staff really love it, and some of us, it's scary. All right, folks. So with that being said, we really want to welcome our guest, Dakota Hall, the Executive Director of Leaders Igniting Transformation. Hola,
Good
Dakota.
afternoon. Hola.
How you doing?
I'm well. Yourself?
Good. Are you at home or in the office?
I'm at home today. I'm at home.
Yeah. We like to help folks understand, like, we're all living this reality, and some of us are trekking forward. So
Absolutely.
Dakota, thanks again for being on. Let's give people a sense of this. I'm really going to appreciate this discussion. Let's give people a sense of what an executive director is, because I always say I think people have a very romantic view of what that is, and it's not as fun and romantic all the time for me. But give people a sense of what you do as an executive director, and then talk about LIT, and then we'll dig into the topics of the day.
Whew, okay, not an easy question to start off with. So Dakota Hall, I use he, him pronouns, executive director at Leaders Igniting Transformation. Great question on what does it mean to be an executive director? And there's so many different ways to answer this, but I think, what sums up being executive director is a constant, being in constant decision-making on like choice points, right? And being able to evaluate those choice points compared to what your organization needs, what your community need, what your staff need, what your members need, right? And so, I think a good example of that is like, do we, as executive directors, take a grant or not, right? Knowing that it may come with some strings. Do we engage with certain funders, right? How do we navigate in spaces that may be political and people want to utilize our image and our name and our title to advance their agenda, right? And then there's like a bunch of stress too, right? There's the ability to fundraise and make sure that you're paying your staff a living wage and making sure you provide them with benefits that can keep you up at night thinking about how you balance that, right? Then there's the operations to make sure that you can actually have the cash flow to do this. And then there's the staff management and all that sort of like encompassing that and making sure that you have a great culture and your team feels like they own their own work and everything like that. I think oftentimes people just think, there are executive directors out here who do have a cushy life, who are at more established, long-term, bigger nonprofits who are able to not necessarily think about that. But when you think about, myself and you and, other folks like Angela Lang at Block, Christina at Voces de la Frontera, all these other like small grassroots community organizations that aren't being sponsored by, Pepsi or these multinational corporations, we're out here grinding, right? So it's, it's at 12, 14-hour days. And, we're not, we're not driving the new BMW every year because, that's not the nonprofits that we run. So yeah, definitely, I think, well, it's great and rewarding work, not something I'm ever going to be like, oh yeah, it's so easy. It's really hard, tough work. You have to be able to be, there's a lot of internal work that you have to do for yourself in order to be an executive director and manage all these kind of things and the time management and all this other kind of stuff.
Thank you. I think that's important for people to know because there aren't a lot of executive director positions in the community begin with. So it's kind of a unique thing. It's not as familiar to people as others. Mm-hmm. Now tell us the story about LIT and tell us the work that you're doing.
Yeah, so the story of LIT, so I have to go way back to 2015. Which doesn't seem like that long ago, but with everything going on, it does seem like a while, many years. So I got hired on with MICA, Milwaukee Inter-City Congregations Allied for Hope, back in 2015 to do youth organizing in a congregational-based model. And that's kind of how, we first initially started rolling with this. And after, 2.5 years of like struggling through some of that, thinking about what, the moment requires, we saw Donald Trump get elected in 2016, 2017, we were just like, there's something missing here, right? There's no reason, we shouldn't have defeated Donald Trump in 2016. And, and we looked around and we really thought, where in our city, where in our state could we find a multiracial coalition of young people from all the way to Superior to Milwaukee, from Platteville to Manitowoc, who are doing organizing with a racial justice lens, with an eye to the future, right? Like we know we're going to gain short-term wins, but long-term, what do we want Wisconsin to be? And so that's kind of how we formatted, right? And so some of the work we're doing now is that leadership development of young people. So now, we've expanded just outside of Milwaukee. And so now we're operating in 7 different counties across Wisconsin. So we're in Milwaukee County, we're in Brown County, Winnebago, Portage, La Crosse, Eau Claire, Dunn County. And so we're expanding our work, and every time we find like a new community in which like wants to invite us in, they absolutely, they're just like, this is what our community needs. This is, something that we can believe in. We want you here. We believe in you. And some of that work has produced us, a big victory we had, just a few months ago was removing police contracts from the Milwaukee's public school budget. And saying that, while, people are still struggling with like safety, we know that students inside of schools, specifically students of color, are struggling with police officers in their school. And on top of that, why are taxpayers paying double the amount? Taxpayers already give the Milwaukee Police Department about 50% of the general revenue budget. On top of that, then they're getting additional contracts from Milwaukee Public Schools, which is also funded by taxpayers.
It's a good point. I had never looked at it that way. That's a great way to present that. They
were essentially double dipping on the same services, right? Like, while we know we're never going to be advocates for people to call the police in schools, there may be situations in which student safety is at risk from outside people. And we may need, some sort of protection for young people, as we've seen all across the country with, school shootings. But we also know that we haven't had that in Milwaukee. But if the situation calls for that, which we hope it never does, and we hope there's actually alternatives to calling the police, why does MPS need a special contract to have the police come to them? Think about that. The MPS school district is about 90% Black and brown students, and yet they need a special contract just to have police listen to them. That's not fair. That's not fair. And so that's some of the great work that we're up to. I mean, as long as with you all too, right? Like we're talking to our folks about the census, we're talking about voter registration, and we're making sure that our community is demanding the dollars that need to go back to them. It's a $1 billion at stake for us in Milwaukee, as you know, with the census, if not more. So, and we need to count our folks because our city is struggling with shared revenue and all this other kind of stuff. And we need to make sure the census gets us our fair share and our fair shake of dollars. And 2, we need to go out and organize the Common Council to ensure that those dollars are allocated properly, because we know that's the key work. That's the key work. We can win all the money we want, but if the Common Council is not with the people, the money won't be spent correctly.
Yeah, 2 critical things I want to lift up of what you're talking about. One is the census, how important it is, especially since there was a decision to shorten it by a month when they really needed to expand it by more time because of the pandemic. They're shortening that, and that's intentional to again disenfranchise folks and make resources more scarce, which make people more desperate, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's super important. And then the second piece that you're talking about is how important it is for people to participate and express what their priorities are for the funds that we're using. And I want to remind people, what we're doing with the census in terms of getting federal dollars are the federal taxes we pay to the federal government.
Absolutely.
And expecting that those dollars get reallocated to the people who need it and the people who have contributed it. So all we're asking for is our fair share based on the taxes we pay and our population. So when the population doesn't get counted, we don't get our fair share.
Yeah.
Dakota, how many kids, young folks, do you have involved?
Yeah, so in Milwaukee, we work on in about 14 Milwaukee public schools, and all of them have chapters of dozens of students. And then we work on 3 college campuses throughout Milwaukee, UW Milwaukee, MATC, because we understand the importance of community colleges and technical colleges in Milwaukee. A lot of people don't recognize this. MATC is the most diverse school and higher education system throughout our state. And we know the social economic impacts that having a community college can have in helping people hopefully achieve some higher education and economic mobility in their life. And then we work on Marquette. And then around the state, there's another 7 campuses that we work on. So it's hard to like estimate as like we built out and we expanded so much. But I would say, hundreds, thousands, who are attending like our events and getting engaged with us and resonating with the message that, the future is young, young, Black, brown, and lit. And the engagement, right, is I think something that we've seen just increase this year with the killings of, Breonna Taylor, with the killings of George Floyd, recognizing, more people, seeing the police brutality that's affecting, the Black community, as well as, Latinx communities and other, brown communities who are being impacted, as we see in Milwaukee with Joelle, right? Like, and people getting more engaged. So I don't have the exact number because we've just seen so much engagement over the last like 3 months alone, where we're just like, whoa.
Growing exponentially.
Yes.
Yeah. I wanted to give people a sense, like, that's how massive this young movement is. It's like growing and growing and growing and growing, and it's spreading. It's here deeper in terms of numbers and then across, which is super, super impressive. And so what invitation should we give to young people, Dakota, to get involved? Who should they contact? How do they get rolling with you all?
Yeah, so young people can reach out to us via our social media, and our social media people connect them to our organizers. So we have a fabulous college organizing team, a fabulous high school organizing team. If you're not in either college or high school, and you're just like a young person who considers himself an artist or a creative, somebody out here doing amazing work, whether you're participating in mural building, all this other kind of stuff, we have a great cultural organizing department as well too. We have a civic engagement team who is out talking about the census, out doing voter registration. So there's multiple avenues in which you don't just have to be your traditional high school student or your college student. We expand our scope to young people who are not in school, who are creatives, who are artists, who are just people who are looking to get involved because they recognize this moment calls for them to have action. So reach out on our Instagram, our Facebook, our TikTok, our Snapchat, and our Twitter. All Lit Wisconsin would be our the way you find us, and our team loves getting those messages. We get so many of them, like, yo, how can I plug in? Can I, do y'all know where like I can show up for this or that? And we're always here to support young people on that.
So you heard that, folks. And then what do you all consider young people in terms of ages, Dakota?
Yeah, so we have a few different brackets. So obviously we have our high school team that's primarily focused on the individuals who are in high school, that 14 to 18, maybe 19, the college going from 18 to like 24 traditionally in our ecosystem. Our civic engagement team, is working with young people and young adults, so like individuals like myself who are in their mid-20s. Absolutely have a home here at Lit too. And then our cultural work really kind of goes throughout all of that. So, whether you're 14 or 30 and you consider yourself a young person who is out here, doing dope poetry slams, doing dope video making photography, you have a home here at Lit.
That's good to know. And is there a cost for your programming, Dakota, to get involved?
No cost at all. So there's no cost. We want people to feel like they're at home here. I mean, in person, we'd love to do events. So whether it was like, having events down at Bounce, Milwaukee, doing like a pizza night there, putting together like different stuff. So no cost. Even if we once hopefully, the COVID pandemic is able to slow down and people are able to, be healthy around that. Even in person, when we come back to stuff, like you can come to like our Bounce House event. No cost to you. We'll pay your admission, we'll pay for your food. And really it's just about building that community. And we know often with, folks of communities of color, the first place in which we build community is over food. And so that's really important to us, is to make sure that we always have food and stuff at our events. It's something that's so simple, but means a lot to so many people.
Yeah, breaking bread together.
Absolutely. Over good food, not just bad food either, because we don't do bad food.
Dakota, and so do you have services for Spanish speaking youth or kids who don't speak English, young people who don't speak English?
Yeah, so we have multiple Spanish speaking members of our staff as well too, as well as we are building out a vendor service for ourselves that can begin to help translate some of our materials into Spanish, recognizing that we do work with a lot of Spanish-speaking communities, and we have to meet them, right? They don't need to come to us; like we have to go to them. We have to make sure that their materials are there too. So, if you're a non-English speaker and you speak Spanish, we definitely, we're still able to meet your needs. And even, we're even thinking in some of our work around like Stevens Point and Eau Claire, there's huge Hmong populations, right? And so trying to figure out like, how do we translate our materials and messaging into that as well.
Good to know. Now let's get to the other topic of the day, is the new generation of organizers. So I've been saying the generation before me was the generation who took the charge for civil rights, Latino rights, Chicano rights, the vote, etc. And so we have a lot of legacy leaders here who led that, the Latino civil rights, the farm worker rights, bilingual education. Then my generation, we tackled welfare reform, charter choice, school, etc. And then now we have that next generation of 30, 40-year-olds, and then the next generation, which is your high schooler and college students. So let's talk a little bit about your observations. What is something maybe you all, in terms of cross-learning in these generations, what is something that you would like our generation of organizers to understand more or appreciate more about your generation? Like, what's the difference there?
Yeah, I mean, I think, even in intergenerational conversations that we've had, one of the big things that is always a tension point in our young people's work and some of like the older folks in Milwaukee is policing. And the concept of policing and what can be policed and what is respectable, right? Like, sometimes, we hear, people have to like pull up their pants, right? And wear their hat a certain way. And young people are like, the way I dress should not determine whether or not the police pull me over and are willing to beat me or kill me, right? Like, no one should be killed for what they're wearing, right? Like that's just point blank for us, right? And so oftentimes we struggle with that concept of policing because, when we think about where policing was, obviously in the civil rights, you had policing in which was brutal, right? Like they sick German shepherds on
overt brutality, unapologetic brutality.
Right. And then you kind of like see it transform a little bit. You get to like the 80s and like the early 90s, and you get like the tough on crime stuff. And the messaging there was to push aside, drug dealers, people who were on drug problems as the problem, right? And police were only there to get them, right? And they did this. They did those like little cute programs. They started handing out baseball cards to kids, right? They were like, oh yeah, here goes some of this, right? Like, and they tried to do that, like, oh, we're friendly neighborhood cops, right? And so a lot of people who did not have negative interactions with police, and they remember the police as these people who drive down their neighborhood and gave them a pack of baseball cards with some bubble gum in them. And now what we're seeing is like, they don't have that, right? And how young people are experiencing them is, being pulled over, walking down the street with like 3 or 4 of their friends on the way to the park to play basketball games, and they're getting harassed. And so, I think one of the struggles is to get, the older generation to understand the reality that they live through as a young person is not the same, right? In almost every institution. One of the things we often hear when we talk about, our work inside of Milwaukee Public Schools is we hear this older generation talk about how there were cooks making fresh bread and fresh food inside the school. And we're like, well, today, they heat up a plastic bag and they serve a hot plastic bag to these students. So like the reality is like times have changed, right? And so getting folks to understand the life experience that young people are going through now is not the same that they went through. And we have to be sympathetic and empathize with that and take action that, yes, every young person should grew up with your expectation of what it meant to be a young person, with, police not brutalizing them, without, having fresh meals inside of school would make, I think, a huge difference, and not the artificial hot pocket plastic bag, like you open it, steam just comes out like that. No 7-year-old should have that for lunch. They deserve so much better.
Those are good points. People, younger folks are living in a different time. So they've had a different lived experience And therefore they have different needs and they have different problem solving suggestions based on all of that. So it's different. Thanks for sharing that, Dakota. We appreciate you making the time because we know the loads are heavy for everyone.
I appreciate you so much, Tammy. I appreciate the work that SOC is doing out here, especially around the census, and continuously engaging the Southside residents. I know, you always say that you're only in a 3-by-3 mile radius, but the work that you all are doing goes well beyond that. And so I really appreciate the work that y'all do as well, too. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care. Be safe. Adios.
All right. Adios.
All right, folks. I'm going to turn the forum back to Gabe.
Thank you so much for that conversation. It's always enlightening to have some powerful leaders from the community on the forum. And with that, I will pass it right along to our beloved coronavirus coordinator, Marlene. Take it away with some coronavirus numbers.
Hi, everyone. So for today, I am going to be sharing my screen with you, and I'm going to be going over COVID-19 numbers from the Milwaukee dashboard. So this is the Milwaukee County dashboard. You can access it at a lot of our the website that's in the comments section. So right now you can see that there's 21,885 people who have been confirmed for COVID-19 in Milwaukee. There's a total confirmed number of 394 deaths in Milwaukee. So the first thing I'm going to go over first is the confirmed case count by race and ethnicity. Again, this is also on the Milwaukee dashboard. I mean, look, if you look at this compared to last week, this has gone up by over 1,000 cases for each category, for the Latino OAX community, for the white community, and for the Black community. Yeah, the Hispanic Latino OAX community is currently at 6,755, which is the highest out of any race or ethnicity in Milwaukee, which also provides some information, that it also shows that there's a high number of cases in the minority populations right now in Milwaukee. Specifically, the zip code 53215 has the highest number of cases to count today of COVID-19 in Milwaukee. So please go get tested whenever you can and check if you are tested. Try to social distance and wear a mask everywhere you go. And now I'm going to go over the total deaths by race and ethnicity. The white population, or the white community, stands at 173. And then the Black community is in the middle. It stands at 149 deaths. And then the Latino OAX community has had 57 deaths so far. Those are the primarily highest number of deaths so far in Milwaukee. If we look at age range, I mean, this has gone up quite a lot since last week by 1,000. So individuals who are ages 20 to 29 years old, we're falling at 5,200 cases right now in that age range. And that age range is actually the age range that is congregating the most, according to the Milwaukee Health Department. And then if you see here, teenagers, ages 10 to 19 years old, we're at 2,100 cases. And according to Jeanette Kowalik from yesterday's forum, she also informed us that those that are congregating, or the spread is through smaller communities, smaller parties. And it's not just through larger parties, but the majority of positive cases are coming from small communities. If you look at this age range, we have 30 to 39 years old, we're at 4,200. And then 40 to 49 is at 3,300, and 59 is 2,700. Those are at the highest rates right now. If you look at total deaths by age range, it kind of hasn't changed through the age range. It's still in the same kind of swoop here, as you can see that 80 plus years old is still the highest at 151, and then 70 to 79 years old, and then 60 to 69 years old. What is interesting is that you will see here that deaths for 20 to 29 years old is at 6. So we have 6 individuals, and then 30 to 39 is 4 individuals. You have to remember that, you know, individuals can be immunocompromised, and they might not even know it. So some individuals might have diabetes and not even know it. And obesity is related to having, it's been related to having complications due to COVID-19, as we've seen from prior guests that have explained how the immune system works. So that is all that I have for you all today. Well, I hope that gave you a lot of information and a great update on COVID-19 numbers for the past week. And I will have Claire Evers on next Thursday to come on the forum and speak about any COVID-19 updates.
Thanks, Marlene. Was she, oh, I was actually going to ask Marlene, was she going to be on vacation next week, or did that change?
That's what Jeanette Kowalik told me, but I'm going to double check with her and see.
Okay. Well, lovely. We may or may not hear from her. We always love to hear from her, though, so we will keep everyone posted. I called out for folks to say hello, and I haven't said hi to them yet, so let's see who's in the comments. We have Trine, hi. Charlie, Diana, como siempre, thanks for being with us. Elsa, also. We've got some thank yous from those folks saying, Diana says, thank you, SOC, for everything you do. You are welcome. We are here for you. And then we also have Elsa saying, SOC, you have been so essential during this pandemic emergency time. Thank you for all the information and everything you do for the community. We love you. Thank you so much for that comment. This is why we do what we do, and we love you too. So thank you for being with us all the time. It's knowing that we have viewers like you that keeps us doing this forum. So please keep commenting and keep filling out the survey to let us know how we can best keep this going for you. And continue to say hi. We love people that say hi later in the game too, so don't be shy. Continue saying hi. And I will move into some civic updates for you all. So we have the City Budget and Management Division of the City of Milwaukee has created a couple tools that will allow residents to better understand the city budget process. So one of the tools is a short 5-minute survey that will ask residents to share their opinions about what the city budget should prioritize for 2021. And that is available in English, Spanish, and Hmong. So that's really cool that it is trilingual for everybody, and so that everyone can make their comments and share their opinions. And those responses are being collected until 11:59 p.m. on Monday. So this coming Monday, August 17th at 11:59 p.m. That is the deadline for submitting your responses to this survey. So please take a look at that. It's really short, and it will allow you to share what you feel the city should be focusing on for this 2021 budget cycle. And then you can find that link in the comments. It's budgetpriority.questionpro.com. And like I said, it will be in the comment section. And then the second tool is an interactive budget simulation that will allow you to create your own imaginary budget. It's really interactive. It's really interesting. And that will also be shared in the comments, the link to that interactive budget simulation. So I'll go through that next week with everyone so you can see what that looks like to create your own budget and go through that whole process. It's really interesting. Other than that, I just wanted to share some quick stats from Tuesday's election. So as you all know, Tuesday, August 11th, was the fall primary. And we had actually a pretty good voter turnout as compared to 2016. So countywide numbers for 2020, so for this one that we had past Tuesday, the total number of registered voters was 517,411. And the total ballots cast were 137,940, which makes a voter turnout of 26.6%. And if you compare that to the countywide numbers in 2016, the total registered voters was actually higher than this year. It was 554,505. But the total ballots cast were less than this past election on Tuesday. The total ballots cast in the 2016 fall primary was 109,400. And that percent of voter turnout was only 19.73. So, still pretty bleak voter turnout, but higher than 2016 voter turnout. So that is good. But obviously, we want to make sure we're pushing to get people out to vote and get voter turnout way higher than that number for the general election this November. And then so that was an increase of 28,500 votes, more or less. So we had almost 30,000 more votes in this fall primary than we did in 2016. So snaps to that. We got to celebrate the small things as well. And then just a quick update on the absentee ballot situation from Tuesday. There were a total of 83,699 absentee ballots issued and a total of 50,191 returned. So that's about a 60% return rate of the 83,000 and some issued, 50,000 and some were returned. So that's still over 30,000 that were not returned. So again, we are going to be pushing to make sure folks are returning those absentee ballots. But that is a really great number of returns. So again, also got to celebrate that small win as well. And then I do want to share with everybody that you may have started to see census door knockers going around your community because they have officially started door knocking for the census. So you will see Census Bureau representatives they'll have a little tote bag or a side bag that says U.S. Census Bureau. And they're going to start knocking on doors to make sure that people are responding to the census and to make sure that everyone in our community is counted. So if you see those folks around the community, know that they're here doing things that are good. And if you hear them knocking on your door, please answer. They are not going to do anything to you. They are merely going to be asking some questions about you and about the folks that live in your household. But they are not going to be asking you for a social security number. They're not going to ask you your citizenship. They're not going to ask you any of those sorts of questions. So please feel safe to open the door and feel happy that you can make sure that you get counted in the 2020 census. If a census door knocker knocks on your door when you aren't home, what they will do is leave a notice of visit flyer that will then also have information about how to respond online, by phone, or by mail. And so you will get that information posted on your door if you aren't there when they knock. But again, if you hear the door knock, please answer it and just easily get that census done by just talking with the Census Bureau representative. And then they're also going to be calling, mailing, and emailing households that have not yet responded to the census. The Census Bureau announced this earlier today, that they're actually going to be sending out emails as well to households. And that will come from the email 2020census@subscriptions.census.gov. So if you get an email from the Census Bureau, that is the email that it will come from. If it's from anywhere else, don't trust it. But if it's from that 2020 census@subscriptions.census.gov, please respond, because it's just another way they're trying to make sure that everybody gets counted. And I actually have a video for all of you today that will show what a census door knocker looks like and kind of what they do. So I will share that video with you. and then say hi to anyone else that has said hi in the time that I've been giving you the census update. So go ahead and play that video.
Behind every 2020 census taker's mask is a friendly neighbor. They're teachers, retirees, vets, people committed to doing right by getting the count right. If you haven't responded yet, they'll be stopping by to ask some simple questions that will inform how billions in federal funds are spent on local services every year for the next decade. So when they come knocking, say hi from a safe distance and do your part to support your community. Time is running out. Shape your future. Start here at 2020census.gov.
So I hope that just gave you a little idea of what their briefcase looks like, or the bag that they carry looks like, and what they'll be doing and talking to you all about when they come to your door, okay? Again, nothing to be worried about or scared of. This is something that happens every 10 years. And as we've announced on other forums, there's even less time for people to get counted, only until September 30th this time around. So please make sure you are filling out that census. And we still have census signs available. And I think we still have the images up of the census signs, if you could share those. If not, no worries. Yeah, there they are. We still have these census signs available. There are a handful left. So if you want them, please reach out to us on our Facebook or our email, and we can get those delivered to you as soon as possible. I know some of them went out today, and we'll get some more out this weekend, but those are still available for you in English and Spanish. I think the Spanish ones might be dwindling down even more than the English ones. But either way, request your census signs and help us promote the census in your neighborhoods. So let's see who else has said hi. Oh, here we go. Elsa, can you all give us some guidance regarding options to mailing back ballots given the current post office situation? Yeah, so I know there has been a lot of issues with funding for the post office. And so the best advice I can give folks going into this general election for November is to request your absentee ballot, but then to either mail it early, like with weeks to spare, because you start getting them pretty soon after you request them, once they announce the specific finalized ballots, right? So you get them weeks in advance. So if you get them a few weeks in advance, then you can return them through mail with weeks in advance. But I would suggest sending them to one of the ballot drop-off boxes that will be around the city for the general election as well. But definitely give yourself time, because there are a lot of backups in USPS to be expected for the general election. But just really be paying attention to where those ballot drop-off boxes will be around the city, and just make sure that once you get it, as soon as you get it, you fill it out and send it back. And thank you for that question. I know it might be a worry for a lot of folks moving forward towards this general election in the fall. And then let's see who else was saying hi. We had Maria saying hi. Elsa, thank you for that question. And then Trine saying that she got her census sign. So that's awesome. If you want to send us a picture of your census sign, that would be really cool, so we can see how it's being displayed in one of our beloved neighborhoods. And Elsa is saying it would be great to know where the drop-off boxes are. I announced where they would be for this August primary, and I will absolutely be announcing where they are for the general election as well. Most likely going to be Zablocki Library, Bayview Library, Mitchell Street Library. A lot of the libraries is where the drop-off boxes are. And then the Zeidler Municipal Building downtown as well. But we will definitely be announcing that as we get closer to the next election in November. And please keep the questions coming. I am happy to answer any questions that come in, so don't hesitate to ask anything. But we will invite our next guest on now, Barbara Cerda, to talk about some awesome projects that they have going on with the little libraries around Milwaukee, and we're really excited to see what's going on with that. So please bring on Barbara. Hi.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thank you.
We're so excited that you could be on with us.
So am I. I used to volunteer with SOC when my sister worked there, Valeria Cerda.
I'm sure it felt like she lived here.
Right. She lived there. And I support you all 100%. And I'm so glad that you all have been responsive to what our community needs. And you've been an amazing resource. So I'm super happy to be here.
Thank you for that. We always love the love and love to give it out as well. So thank you. So talk to us about the Book Fairy project. Just why not give us an introduction and kind of a background about the project and what you've been up to?
Sure. So like Gabe said, my name is Barbara Cerda, and I am the founder of Barby the Book Fairy. So I collect and I distribute books to the little free libraries in our neighborhoods. Oh yeah, that's a recent picture of me. I started about a year ago on my own. I was downtown for something, and I noticed that there was a little library next to the courthouse and next to St. Ben's meal site that was like super empty. And that day I went home and I like cleaned out my, my book collection and my kids' book collection, just like restocked that library and, encouraged my friends on Facebook if they had any like books to be donated to take them down to that library. And the work started becoming a project when COVID hit. Because our public library shut down and then our schools shut down. And all of the libraries in my neighborhood were super empty. And, I have about 4 or 5 of them that are near me. And every time I would pass by, I would see them empty. And I'm like, oh, I need to go clean up my books again. And, I filled them up. And I one day just kind of offered it on my Facebook and said, I'm collecting books for my friends, and started collecting books from my Facebook friends, and started refilling the libraries in my community. I live in Lincoln Village, so we have a nice community out there, and I really love my neighborhood and I love my neighbors. So this work is super important to me. It started out really, really organically. And I didn't imagine that I would get so much, so much support and love from folks.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds amazing and really important, especially during the time of the pandemic where kids have less entertainment and other things and just social time, right? To be imaginative, to play in the street, to play with their friends. So that's really important. So did you always have the nickname Barby the Book Fairy, or was that something that happened recently? Or I just love it.
So ever since I was little, like my family, they've always called me like Barbie, and that just kind of stuck. But it was, I've always spelled it like Barbie as in like Barbie the doll. But then I'm like, I don't want to get like sued by Mattel or something if I'm using. So then I just put Barbie, Barbie with a Y, and it just turned into this. Yeah. So that's just always been my nickname.
I love it. So you mentioned a little bit about, asking for folks to donate. How else can people get involved, or where should they donate, or should they just go fill the little libraries, or how can people, get involved?
So I definitely encourage people to fill up their own libraries in their communities. The idea is to, give a book, you take a book, leave a book. But sometimes we just don't do it, and that's okay. So yes, become your own book fairy and send me your pictures. I do have a Facebook and Instagram. You can email them to me. So yes, become a book fairy. I recently came up with the idea of maybe looking for a couple of volunteers to help me prepare the books. Since I've been receiving a lot of donations, I really need help, wiping them down and putting them in piles and getting them, prepared to distribute. So you can volunteer. You can donate your new or gently used books to me, and you can do that by just sending me a message on Facebook or Instagram or an email.
We did link your Facebook in the comments as well, so people can just go ahead and easily click onto the to your Facebook page for it.
Yes, perfect. Yeah, if you just send me an email, we can schedule a pickup or a drop off if you want to donate books. Or if you don't have books to donate right now, you can donate funds. I've been focusing on buying books that are written by Black and Brown authors, since those are the children and the adults that are in our community. And they're empowering books. I think there are so many books out there about, about struggles, or, just really, we're always fighting for something, we're always like, so I'm focusing on buying like these empowering, really great children's and young adult books. And yeah, that's a couple of ways to get involved. And if you visit my website, I can also send you my website. I don't think I did that earlier. I have these really great resources on my website of, how you can get involved. I have a book of the month, and give book recommendations. And I really want to engage with you all.
Yeah. Are there any particular events you have coming up?
I do.
Yeah.
I have 2 events. My good friend Linda Araceli just invited me to attend a bilingual story time in Alice's Garden. And she will be reading books in Spanish, and I am going to bring book giveaways for the children who attend, and young adults. And then that bilingual story time is on August 18th at 5 p.m. And then I will be attending a children's protest on August 22nd at 12 p.m. in front of City Hall. So I will bring out a wagon filled with books to give to the children and the families who are attending.
Mm-hmm. And I think we have a flyer for that children's protest. Yeah.
Yes, that's the one.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Well, those are some really awesome events coming up. I love it.
Yes. I'm super excited to get out.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking some time to be with us today. Any last thoughts you want to share with us, or can you be sure to share we have your contact info because we shared the Facebook page. If you do want to share the website in the private chat or in the comments of the Facebook Live, that would be great too, just to give us another way to make sure folks can get in contact with you.
Okay. I do have a raffle. You posted the book subscription box up there. So I do have a raffle for folks who are watching the broadcast. So I'm giving away an August book subscription box. I've partnered up with some local artists to provide a book lovers item and a book handpicked by me. This August box includes a copy of Esperanza Rising by Pam Munoz Ryan, a homemade tea bundle made by Adelitas MKE. Those were donated by Camila Uceli, and a custom coffee mug by my friend Alma Valle at Souls Creations. So I am giving one out. I will announce the winner at 7 p.m. But all you have to do is join my mailing list. And if you're already on my mailing list, fill out the form again. I do have a question that said, did you watch 3 o'clock with SOC? And make sure you click yes. And I will pull a winner tonight at 7 p.m.
Awesome.
For you all.
Well, that sounds like a really cool box. And so there is no cost to subscribe to your page or to your website. Is there any other cost associated with anything to do with Little Library, anything like that?
No cost for anything to do with Little Library. For the book subscription box, for the month of September, I will be offering those, but I'll be sending out information for people who have joined my mailing list to get dibs on those boxes.
Nice.
But the books are free, and like I said, I take donated books. I will always take donated books, and I really appreciate you all bringing me on.
Yeah, and then Spanish language books too, I'm sure would be really important.
Books. Exactly.
Awesome. Well, Barbara, thank you so much. Barbie, the Book Fairy, thank you. We really, really have appreciated having you on, and all the work that you have done to make sure we've got some, young folks that can read lots of awesome books. So
Yes, thank you. I mean, and the books are not only for, children and young adults. I just talked to my friend at Literacy Services, and she provided me with this statistic about, 2 out of 5 Milwaukee adults read at or below a 3rd grade level. So I'm focusing on providing, these young adult books so that, our people can read them and enjoy them and, take an adventure.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much. You have a great rest of your day and have an awesome weekend. And we will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Oh, that just fills me with joy. I love books and knowing that we're giving folks access to them. So thank you to her and to all the work that she's doing around Milwaukee and especially the South Side and Lincoln Village. Let's have our communications manager come on and talk about the SOC survey.
Has this live forum been informative and useful to you? What part of the forum could be improved or changed to make it better? Please take a quick survey that's located in the comments section so that we can keep 3 o'clock with SOC going for residents. Thank you for tuning in.
All right, folks, I think we've had a really great forum for you all today. Hope that you've all gotten something out of it. And why don't you comment saying what your favorite part of it was, and make sure that you fill out that survey as well to let us know what you thought and to give us any other ideas. As Temi mentioned earlier, next week you are going to meet each of our SOC staff one of the days of the week. So stay tuned for that next week. I and the civic team will be with you on Monday. And we'll continue talking about the rest of the layout of the week next week. As always, we are wanting to express our deep solidarity with protesters and families that are impacted by police brutality. And our thoughts and prayers are with those who have experienced loss because of COVID-19, whether it's illness or death. Our thoughts and prayers are with you. And with that, I will leave you all with the Funder thank you video and hope that you all have a lovely weekend.
Hello viewers, my name is Carlos and I'm the data and canvassing coordinator for SOC. We would like to thank everyone for supporting 3 o'clock with SOC live show and for completing our SOC survey. In addition to thanking our residents for tuning in and sharing our show, we would like to also thank the following sponsors: Wisconsin Voices, Community Development Block Grant, Neo Philanthropy State Infrastructure Fund, Movement Voter Project, Catholic Campaign for Human Development, Zilber Foundation, City of Milwaukee Office of Violence Prevention, Tides Foundation, Employ Milwaukee, and all of the faithful individuals who support SOC through their personal donations. Thank you.